about sustainable transport and how technology would be shaping the future of transport. Very interesting topic. Basically, what we're trying to figure out here is that, so what is the current status of the mobility in the country? What type of challenges are we facing? And what is the future from here in terms of particularly green transportation, sustainable transportation? We hear a lot about smart transport, smart mobility. We have heard about EV. The Commissioner of Police was also mentioning how EVs are gearing up and scaling up with each passing day, with each passing year. And in fact, if I'm not wrong, by 2030, most of the traditional fuel-based vehicles might be phased out. It has already started in bits and parts from Delhi. So the future truly lies in EV, electric vehicles. Then the future also mentions about, in the future there is also a role about the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the public transport, how technology, new and emerging technologies can influence and can shape the future of mobility in times to come. So let me hear the perspective of Sajan John first. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Kochi Metro. Sajan, your views on this topic, India towards green and sustainable transport.
Good evening. Let us look into the history. I think an international summit happened on climate change, basically on pollution and other aspects. That happened in 1972 at the Stockholm Conference. Maybe that time the majority of the people might be thinking that climate change or its effects, this is something of maybe next century or 2 centuries later or something like that. But down the line, now each and everyone is aware that climate change is a reality and it is going to extinct the human race if it is not taken up to task immediately. There is no time left. I think in 1987, a Brundtland report that studied on the aspects of climate change, that only coined the word sustainable development in the forefront. Since then, all discussions started around that, sustainable development. So now we are here. Earlier sessions we have heard that say 26% of world CO2 emissions, GHG emissions are happening from transport. Out of this, more than 70% is from road transport. I will talk about the shipping side. Actually, world's more than 80% of world trade is happening through shipping. But the contribution of GHG emissions is less than 3%. But is it okay that shipping can be left out of these challenges and need not change? That is not correct. Because if you see the absolute figures in 2019, 8.9 gigatons of CO2 equivalent is the emissions. This is huge. So what about future urban transport? Actually, we don't have any choice. We have to convert to sustainable transport. There is no choice left. And if you see the public behavior in the last few years, maybe the tendency is towards private transport. Everybody looks for his own convenience. Vehicles are increasing, private vehicles are increasing like anything. In Kerala, it has crossed 1.7 crores of vehicles for a population of 3.4 crores. The vehicle population is more than 1.7 crores. This is alarming actually. So we have to go back to public transport. There is no question about it. And if it is to be regulated, it has to be regulated. It has to be forced. That is the only way out. That if you have to save the planet. So the policies have to be made that way. That is the need of the hour. So we were talking about comparing railway and road transport. Majority of people think maybe high-speed rails or even that silver line and all as becoming very expensive. Maybe that may be a reason why people will not change. But if you see last week, Mysore Bangalore highway is open, expressway is open. For a length of 55 kilometers, the toll is rupees 135. That means 2.5 rupees per kilometer. What is the projected ticket charge of, say, Silver Line? It's only 2.25 rupees. So, 2 rupees? 75 paise. So maybe marginally higher than the toll. Toll is not your expense. Toll is only the part of the expense, and you have to spend on the fuel, you have to spend on the vehicle, and all this climate change, whatever. If you put a figure into that, then it will be alarming. So we have to move to mass transport systems. Urban transport has to be mass transport system. And in Kochi, we have a very peculiar experiment, a very interesting experiment about water metro. We have moved completely to electric mobility. This is first time in the world. We are taking the lead. And I feel this can be replicated in many cities in India. Urban transport concept will change. So basically,
Finally, Sajan was rightly mentioning about the crisis of climate change, and climate change is a very harsh reality which all of us are facing. And as rightly mentioned by him, sustainable and green transportation is no more a luxury or a unique innovation. It is rather a necessity now warranted out of the situation. Your views on this topic? Let me bring in here Dr. Satheesh Babu, Associate Professor from CUSAT. Your views.
We are discussing about the sustainable development of various modes of transportation. I'm a naval architect, and I'll speak only about inland water transportation, because there are a lot of experts have been talking about railways, waterways, and airways. I can see one more naval architect in the audience, my classmate. So, a naval architect basically an expert who's designed boats, ships, and as a professional in ship design, we are also thinking about bringing in various features into the design, which makes the ships more eco-friendly, and it doesn't cause much damage to our environment. So the ships, the ocean-going ships, so far all the big ships are using the crude oil as fuel, but we are moving towards LNG fueled vessels. We are going even if you look at small boats, the technology has proven to go for solar powered vessels. We are going for electric vehicles. Like Mr. Sajan has just mentioned that Water Metro is operating on electric powered vessels. So the technology is proven, and there is a phase shift that is happening from fossil powered boats to electric boats, solar boats. Even we are thinking about the next generation fuel, that is hydrogen. So there are a lot of research and development activities going on to see how we can have boats powered with hydrogen fuel cells. I don't know how many of you read that recently one French vessel came to Kochi and they are running 100% with hydrogen fuels. So the technology is going, only thing is there is problem. Like if you want to go for big ships, it is not possible. So even sail powered ships are being looked at now. But now the inland water transportation has got a lot of advantages. If you look at any parameter, cost per ton per kilometer, or emissions, or very other field, the inland water transportation scores much more than any other mode of transportation. Still in India, unfortunately, we are not able to shift the movement of cargo to inland waters as much as we would like to. I was just checking, and in India, the percentage of cargo moved through inland waters is just 0.5%. Whereas in some countries, it is as high as like US and Canada, and all it's 10%. And countries like in Europe, there are countries which has more than 50%. So we have a very large network of rivers, canals, backwaters. In spite of that, somehow we are not able to leverage these to our advantages. Some of the problems could be the poor connectivity to these waterways from the nearby railways or roadways. And there is a perception that the boat design is very simple, but I can tell you, design a boat or a vessel, electric vessel, for a shallow water in a river is more challenging. I know Water Metro will vouch for that. It's more challenging than making probably ocean-going vessels. And also in India, the percentage of navigable waters is also quite less. Kerala, it is around only 30% of the rivers we can have boats running. There are a lot of restrictions. We have restriction on water depth. In many places, if you want to run boats, you will see some bridges going around. So there are a lot of problems. So we need massive investments, both from the government and private sector, so that we can shift some of the cargo from other modes of transport to waterways. So before I conclude, I also want to say a couple of things which, as a university, Kochi University, which we are doing. We are developing a transportation model using operation research principles, and we are making a forecast how much in next 10 years, how much cargo can be shifted from roadways and even railways through waterways. And also we are coming out with some optimum vessel designs, so that we, considering the restrictions which we are expecting in Kerala waters, we will propose some optimum designs which the industry can easily adopt to. And we are also working on a river information systems, so that the network of canals and waters and rivers which are available in Kerala can be made available to the public, so that it can be made use of by the industry. And there is also one project which we are working on, converting the existing diesel-powered boats to solar-powered vehicles. Some sponsored project we are working on. So we hope that we will be able to provide some good thrust to sustainable development of inland water transportation in India. Thank you very much.
So Satheesh basically stressed upon the importance of inland waterways, and in fact you are rightly mentioning that inland waterways have never been a focus area in India, but of late Government of India has made a renewed focus on development of inland waterways. If I am not wrong, National Waterways #1 just inaugurated by Prime Minister from Varanasi to Silchar, and I think a couple of more networks are in work in progress. Miles to go, yeah, of course. As you rightly mentioned, that in India we have just 0.5%. If you compare that with some developed European countries, where the share of logistical movements through inland waterways is as huge as 50%. So a lot of scope, and one of the most efficient, seamless, and pollution-free modes of transport inland. And India is blessed to have a lot of waterways. We talk of large and mighty rivers like Brahmaputra is there, Ganga is there, Kerala, a lot of backwaters, Canada, etc. So enough scope is there. Anyway, moving on, let me bring in here my fellow panelist from Bharat Electronics Limited, P. Harikumar. Although he is heading the technology planning division there, his first views on this, or his perspective on the topic, moving towards a green and sustainable transport. Your views.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think this is a three-pronged thing which has to be looked at. One is in terms of technology. What are you going to do to reduce the emissions from a vehicle, the vehicles which you choose? So whether you go for electric or go for hydrogen. So that's a technological solution that you look at, and also that particular technology does not create back-end pollution. Like suppose electricity is generated somewhere else, then that is generating. So if it is solar, then it's better. So that way we need to look at it. That is the one part. The second part would be the logistics, like Sir brought out. The last mile connectivity has to be ensured. Otherwise, there won't be any great takers for. This is where Kochi, the water metro is successful, because even for disabled people, they're making it friendly. And even I think going ahead, we should look at material movement also through that. So that's a. The third would be on policy. For example, countries like Singapore, what they have done is to dissuade use of private vehicles. If you buy a car there, you would pay 2 times the cost of the car as taxes. So there is a strong disincentive not to, against buying used public transport. In fact, they keep improving their public transport. The transport minister, like today, Loknath Behra sir was saying, to bring down the waiting time at each bus stop. That is the thought that the transport ministers there have. They keep targeting every year reduction in time for waiting at a bus stop. Here we never think on that, but now at least that thought is coming up. So it is in 3 ways that we have to look at it. Technology has to be used appropriately, which doesn't cause future damage, current damage or future damage. Then the logistics, so that it is easy to use. And the third, that give strong disincentive for the modes which are not preferred. That is, for example, private transport unnecessarily being used can be avoided. Thank you.
Thank you, Harikumar. Sajan P. John, Mr. Harikumar was mentioning about the policy being one of the enablers for promotion of green and sustainable transportation. So, as per you, what is being done on the policy level to promote green transport, and what needs to be done?
In fact, India was very much committed from right from the 1972 International Conference. India is committed to climate change action. We have set 2070 as net zero target, 2047 energy independent, that national green hydrogen mission has been announced. Government is moving very fast, but whether we are catching up, that is a question. Earlier it used to be the other way. Now government is moving very fast. Policies are being in place, getting in place. All targets are getting fixed. Whether the industry is ready to take, that is another question. But maybe on the level of subsidizing or something, that more governmental support might be required. But otherwise, I think policy level, India is moving very fast.
Well said, and a very valid point that government of India is quite serious about net zero emissions, and as rightly mentioned by him, possibly for the first time, policies are being rolled out faster than whether the industry is ready to adopt or adapt to those policies. So here comes the question of capacity building. So let me put my next question to Professor Satheesh. Professor Satheesh, what type of enablers are we requiring to build a capacity in the sector so that we are able to absorb quite conducive policies in place? Do we have the capacity, and if not, then what is to be done?
Again, let me restrict you.
From naval point of view.
Because I don't want to touch
Yes, yes.
something which. So, you see, I said the investment needed in inland water sector, like which is still not there. Okay. So, around 15,000 kilometers of rivers and things we have, but what is navigable is just around 5,000 kilometers only. Now, who will make them navigable, and who will make the last mile connectivity, and who will take a container to a near jetty, load into a vessel, take it to a place, and if he has to unload it somewhere. So it's once the potential is there, so that now so far the private investment is very, very less. So once the private industry feels that it is worth investing, and then it comes, because government alone cannot do. So the ships are to be made, it has to be operated, there has to be cargo loading service, unloading service. So the question what you're saying is capacity building. It needs a tremendous push. Then once it is there, then once it is because investment from private will come once it is cost effective. Because there are a lot of shipping companies running, like Shipping Corporation of India, and there are big businessmen who got hundreds of ships doing business in the ocean, but they have not come to the inland water transportation. They will come once we are ready to take them. So the capacity building requires a lot of thinking, a lot of more discussions are needed how to do it.
Exactly. In fact, it has to be two-way traffic. Business will only come in if they see a value in it, whether they are able to generate enough ROI on the investments, and government, of course, will come up in this policy. Let me bring in here Hari Kumar, our General Manager of Technology Building. Well, Hari Kumarji, please tell us something about the initiatives of Bharat Electronics Limited as far as promotion of mobility, green mobility is concerned, or mobility at large is concerned.
At Bharat Electronics, we are primarily a defense ministry owned public sector. So about 85% of our business comes from defense, but we are also strongly into commercial area where we support the DMRC, the Delhi Metro is being supported. So there we try out, in fact we have indigenized most of the modules like CBTC, the communication based. So that way we do work on that. Now coming to the green energy part, we have also realized that this is a problem because all our defense vehicles need the same problem they face. So we have now started work on lithium and based cells being made in India, because right now they are all imported and just put together. So the core is coming from outside. So that we have started manufacturing in India. So we expect to convert a lot of Indian, and now with Kashmir showing signs of lithium deposits. So that's another positive sign for that. The other angle we are looking at is also looking at hydrogen as a fuel, so that commercially as well as for military use, we use hydrogen fuel cells. So this is something we are strongly working for and putting our R&D into it.
Great. Hydrogen as a fuel was mentioned by Hari Kumar, and earlier it was mentioned by Professor Satheesh also. Sir, as far as promoting energy efficiency is concerned, let me bring in here Sajan from Kochi Water Metro. What specific steps is Kochi Water Metro taking or initiating to promote and conserve energy efficiency?
If you talk about water metro boards, maybe everybody has seen the presentation in the morning. So, according to our preliminary calculations, when we are designing for the boards, the preliminary calculation showed around 64 kilowatt of energy for that particular speed for the kind of boat what we wanted. But we put a target of 38 kilowatt, almost half a target. And in the end, we achieved 34 kilowatt. These boats are one of the most efficient hulls, maybe we can claim, because the fine tuning was done in Netherlands. So it is an international involvement was there, product was there. So this might be one of the most efficient boats ever made in the world, of similar sizes maybe. And energy efficiency automatically comes into forefront when we are thinking about an electric solution, because you have to run the port on batteries. If your power requirement is more, naturally more batteries are required, more volume, more weight, then your boat will be still bigger. This was a much bigger challenge than making something just like that. So if you consider a whole day's electric energy, then it is just not possible to make a boat like that. So finally, we arrived on a solution that we will go for a opportunity charging type of philosophy, so that the power requirement we kept it only for 1 hour. So after 1 hour, then we will recharge it. Then naturally the other questions came, because if you are charging in between your service hours, then you cannot take more time. Then it has to be fast charging. So we went for supercharging. That way, that design has evolved. So I could say the present boats are one of the most efficient boats. And then this thinking was there in each and every component of water metro, how to reduce the energy requirement. That kind of things were there. Then coming into shipping side, actually, International Monitoring or International Maritime Organization (IMO), in line with UN targets, they have kept 2030. They want to decarbonize the entire shipping by around 40%, and by 2050 around 70%. So they were looking into different models, different kind of thinking was gone, like improving efficiencies of the ships in design, in operations, other things. So they were looking for different models, and a team of IMO has visited Kochi Water Metro. They were all in appreciation of the model, and they were trying to propagate that this kind of model, whether this can be, of course, with limited applications, because for an ocean-going ship, an electric solution may not be easy, because you are going to sail for days together, 30 days or 40 days together, so you cannot have only electric solution. Then they are also thinking about hydrogen, bringing hydrogen fuel cells or hydrogen solutions, or ammonia, or alternate fuels, basically. And they want to do some pilot projects in India. They have got different from different stakeholders, different ideas, and they have selected 5 projects as pilot projects. And out of that, one proposal is from us, Kochi Water Metro, and we are looking for a hydrogen fuel. So this is going on. So far nothing has happened. We are working out on that, and hopefully we will move ahead with that also.
Great. Dr. Satheesh, you are heading the shipping technology department in CUSAT. For the sake of the benefits of the audience, could you just take us through how well placed we are globally in terms of shipping technologies?
The Department of Ship Technology was established in 1974. So it is, so I am from the 13th batch. So it is, I think, 47th year or something. So I think we are, if you look at any major ship design firms, so we are at par. So we have our problems, like, till few years back, India was importing most of the component for the ships. Like now, sir, as you mentioned in VL, I'm sure you must be making something, especially even the steel. What we're making the hull, and it was indigenized, I think, 10 years back only. Even all the weapons, sensors, you name it, even the propulsion system, engines. I was in my younger years, I was in the Navy. We were making specification for importing only. So we used to make a list of equipment. We used to buy who will supply from which country and write specifications. But now the scenario has changed. Like, I can say around 70 to 80% the technology is being developed here, and very soon, and even the small vessels and all, we have started exporting also. Like in warships, some few ships we are giving to our friendly countries. So in terms of technology, a question what you asked is now, with all that government initiatives that it has to be made in India, that is really coming helpful. It has become very, it has actually enforced that we have to develop here. We can't take the easy route. So in technology, I think we are more or less not 100%, but we are on the way to become self-reliant.
Great. We are rightly moving towards the path of self-reliance. Before I come to the concluding questions to all three of us, one quick question to Hari Kumar. Hari Kumar comes from the technology background. And he was also mentioning that technology is one of the three enablers, the two others being logistics and policy. So, Hari Kumar ji, what type of policies are you forcing for promotion of green and sustainable transport?
One would be incentives in terms of encouraging users to choose that. But like it was brought out, I feel it should be done on a mass scale that is safer than, because even individual vehicles coming on the road is not going to, pollution would still be lower compared to internal combustion engines, but in net, like it was brought out, the rubber rubbing off on the road, the particulate material, all that would be so encouraging mass transport is the primary. Make it so good, so convenient that people have that as the first choice. Singapore does that very well, sir. He has only three choices. He gives you a bus which comes in within minutes of your reaching either, or he gives you a mass rapid transport or a light. One of the three options you do. You buy a car, you will suffer because within 5 years you have to replace it. So that is the sort of, and you pay 2 times the cost of the car as tax. So not many can afford it. So it makes it, and it's a small country, so easier to probably implement. This government has shown that you can implement across such a big country, bring out vaccines, bring out ventilators, could do in short time. So it's possible. So I feel there should be to encourage more and more of it. Otherwise, Kerala already reaching one per 2 people, one vehicle per 2 people. There's no end to it if you make the roads better. And so that's what I see.
Classic example is of Delhi. In Delhi, we have got one of the finest roads in the country. They are quite wide. In front of my own apartment, we have a 14-lane expressway. But despite having doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled the length and width of the roads the past couple of years, there is no end to the congestion. There is no end to the congestion. We have got lots of flyovers. They are used. There wasn't any flyover, rather 1 or 2 odd flyovers must have been there 20 years back. And today, full cities are full of flyovers. But still, there is no end to the congestion. So as rightly pointed out by Mr. Kumar, pardon?
In spite of having the best metro.
Yes.
Well covered.
Yes. So private vehicles actually are not the solutions, and unless we move towards MRTS or we move towards more efficient ways of mobility, the solution is not coming forward. So last concluding, quick 1 minute of concluding notes from all the three of you from the industry. My first question, let me move from left to right this time. Let me move to the head of the department, shipping technology, Dr. Satheesh this time. Quick 1 minute concluding notes. Green and sustainable transport solutions.
Yeah, you can have different parameters, like what is the fuel, how much emission for burning, for transporting 1 ton of cargo for 1 kilometer, or you take any parameters. The most greener mode of transportation is in water. The cost of transportation is also cheaper. So with moving from fossil fuels to electric to solar and to hydrogen, that technology is getting matured. And with the right connectivity from other modes of transportation and whether we connect it to the logistics center, the factories and the production centers, you integrate it properly, and seeing a big future for the waterway transportation in our country. Thank you.
Concluding note from you, Mr. Sajan.
There is no single solution. Metro is not the only solution, or water metro is the only solution, or buses only solution. Integration is the key. Integration is the key because when we talk about mass transport, it has its own limitations. Everything has its own limitations. So proper integration of all modes of transport, ultimately the convenience, everybody will go by the convenience. So we have to provide the convenience to the commuters. That is the only way we can succeed.
Providing convenience to the user. Last concluding note from Mr. Hari Kumar.
And now stay away from policy. We'll come to technology also. And the technology implementers also need to now choose technologies that are much more, for example, electric chargers. EV chargers there are various kinds. Very inefficient chargers are there. There are medium efficiency ones. There are very high efficiency ones. So that is the area we need to go into. There are technologies like silicon carbide, gallium nitride. These are much highly efficient, so that because the chargers also heat up the environment. There is a lot of it. So I feel the technology people should focus on bringing that also high amount of efficiency into the that side also. Then only the usage will. Otherwise, we may see the vehicle not polluting, but in the back end we would be spoiling it. So that is what I feel. We should build up. Technology also should be leveraged strongly to make use of the latest in the field.
So technology to be leveraged to make best use of the evolving things. Any questions from the audience here? Yes, mics to be given to the audience.
Good afternoon, sir. So you were telling about the back-end energy pollution which may happen in the manufacturing sector or in the transport sector. Say for example, we are having an EV, but which is used for charging the vehicle, or the process by which we are manufacturing that car or some particular vehicle, it may cause pollution or it may cause this carbon emissions. So I would like to have an insight on, is there any process changes which we are following or which we are going to implement in our manufacturing sector, or is there any policy changes which is being made in our country to for reducing this back-end pollution?
Anyone? Professor. You would like to answer?
Policy part, I'm not fully sure, but as on the technology side, like I think Kochi water metro has done that. You've already implemented a solar to generate the electricity. So that sort of this should be mandated. That what is in front is not just to be green. The back also has to be green. Then only the whole. So even it is not like putting a screensaver in front and cheating there. That cannot happen. So that is one part. And the other part would be to keep on improving on it, because the technologies are evolving. It is not the whole world. The particular technologies I refer to, silicon carbide and gallium nitride, used to be very expensive earlier. Now they are very low cost, so we can actually change over to that. But we are not doing. If you see, most of the chargers are still using older, inefficient technology. So that is something we, in fact, at our company, we are trying to bring those back into the other, because we are aiming it at mainly for military, because we are not a commercial organization for that side. But we can have spin-offs there also. Commercial companies can take out. So it has to be done, and probably my government mandate also has to come in that there is in production also you have to adhere to green norms.
Thank you, Mr. Harikumar. So with this, we conclude this session on promotion of green and sustainable transportation. And the good part is that there is a lot of excitement and there is a lot of awareness also as far as SDGs are concerned, as far as climate change mitigation is concerned. And there is a unanimous views of all the policymakers as well as industry that we need to tackle the situation head on. And Government of India is already quite serious about it. By 2070, we are targeting net zero emission. And if we were to attain that, we have to develop those technologies, we have to develop those competencies, we have to develop those capacities right at this moment of time. So with this, we conclude this session. All the panelists here, Harikumar on my right from Bharat Electronics Limited, to Dr. Satheesh Kumar on the left from CUSAT, and in the middle, Mr. Sajan from Kochi Metro, Kochi Water Metro. So thank you all of you.